I was holding myself at 50% capacity for the whole of my teens and 20s until I stopped drinking. Welcome back, bro. Hope you got at least a little bit of insight from the last couple of podcast episodes that I've done. I've really enjoyed making them, so I hope you've gathered a lot of information from them from the little amount of experience that I've got. This podcast style of content is honestly like therapy for me, which is great, obviously, but also it allows me to try and give back some of the information that I've learned over my years. I'm still pretty young, I'm 25, so, there's definitely still a lot more learning to be done, but I hope you guys have been able to extrapolate a little bit of wisdom from me to put into your own lives. And also, I feel like it's important for me to share my journey as it's happening rather than at the end of the journey sharing what's happened, because there's going to be a lot of lads like me who I'm trying to talk to who are in the same sort of situations as me, and they can learn from my mistakes as we go on. And also we can win together, so it's a win-win. So what has not drinking for 60 days done for me? The answer is a shitload. But firstly, let's talk about the UK. I think we can all agree that the UK culture is pretty broken. I mean, the shit weather doesn't help. It's quite nice right now, but usually, 9 to 10 months of the year, it's raining or it's cold, so that doesn't help. But I feel like everyone is living for the weekend. They're using, substances on the weekend as vices to deal with their stressful, miserable lives, essentially. And I think that all comes from only just because their friends are using it. It's quite an aggressive cycle. Then, after the Friday, Saturday bender, they're waking up on Sunday fueled with anxiety, and they just manifest that and take it through as stress throughout the whole week. And then they just repeat the cycle. To be honest, it sounds like 90% of lads in their 20s right now. And I was part of that. I was literally part of that cycle. I was part of that herd of sheep that, just lived for the weekend, got smashed on alcohol, and used that as a vice to deal with the stresses of life. And that's what I mean about holding myself at 50% capacity. I wrote an email the other day, a piece of copy, which spoke about, you have a mug of this is your life. This is a representation of the amount of capacity that you have. Every time you install a bad habit or something that's negatively affecting you in your life, that line of coffee goes down and down and down and down, giving you less energy to put into the things that you actually want to do. When I stopped drinking, I gave myself more energy, more chances to actually do things that I wanted to do, because I've got more time, more energy, more clarity, more creativity, a lower barrier of entry for my dopamine, and so many other points, which I'm going to go into. Let me just set the scene. There was an evening around 60 days ago where we spend all weekend moving into this new house here. So, as per moving into a new house, we invite some friends over and we inevitably start drinking. One thing led to another, one beer led to another beer, and we're about 10 deep. Sounds pretty familiar, right? I was laid in bed after that night out. Bearing in mind, the whole night out, I was kind of just like, this is fine. I don't really want to be doing this, but I have all my friends around me, so it's fine. I was laid in bed after, head was spinning, hangover was already coming in. By the way, I get really aggressive hangovers. That's why that was part of the reason why I stopped, just because they were just painful and I just didn't want to do them anymore. But yeah, I was laid in bed after the night out, head was spinning, thoughts all over the place, regret was already coming in from all that drinking, and I've literally just kicked off the photo shoot prep with James. So, this was the time to draw the line in the sand. And there and then I vouched to myself that I would not touch alcohol for 100 days, and that would land me right after the shoot. And I'm 60 days in, and this is exactly what I've learned so far. Firstly, my ability to appreciate the small things in life has flown through the roof completely. Alcohol gives you an unnatural and unsustainable amount of dopamine hits every weekend, which spikes your ability to actually appreciate the normal things in life. So since I've stopped, obviously right at the start, you couldn't really notice a difference because, you still had that muscle memory of the massive dopamine spikes that you were getting from alcohol. But maybe after 40 to 50 days, I started to really be able to appreciate the much smaller things. And this is because my dopamine receptors weren't absolutely fried by the alcohol, and I've managed to reset them now. Something as small as breakfast, back in the day, I'd wake up, I'd start working, get to about 8. I usually eat breakfast about 10ish. If it gets about 8, I'll be like, Christ, I want to eat some breakfast now. This is so long. I'll be waiting for breakfast, anticipating it loads. I would make it at 10, scran it all down really quickly, and then that'd be it. I would get no satisfaction from it. But now, last week, really pivotal moment for me happened. It sounds so small, but I made my breakfast. I walked out of the doors just there, walked down the stairs, sat on the bench, and I sat down. The sun was just beaming over the crescent. I don't really know what that even means. Just over that thing over there. So it was just shining on my face. Breakfast was there, and I was able to really just appreciate the moment. It was so good. And I was taking my time, appreciating every single thing in the present there. And I believe that is because I stopped drinking alcohol. I reset my receptors, I reset my dopamine receptors, and it's allowed me to actually appreciate more in life. I mean, it probably also helps that I'm 10 weeks deep into the most aggressive cut of my life for this photo shoot. So that's probably why I'm appreciating it a little bit more, but you get the picture. Alongside this, my ability to be creative has also flown through the roof. Now, I'm not sure on the science of this. I'll need to do some more research, but I feel like when I sit down to create a piece of copy, to make something for a client, or any instances I have to be creative. So maybe when I'm listening to music, or thinking of podcast ideas, or thinking of YouTube ideas, I think I'm able to create a lot more abstract and interesting ideas. Now, this is also probably from the alcohol as well. I'd have to look into it a little bit more, but yeah. That also comes from, gaining so much time back. Like I said, I've gained maybe 40, 50, 60 days of the year not hungover. And that's going to allow me to spend more time, sitting in solitude, getting bored, and allowing my thoughts to break away from, the cage that they're in right now. I think one of the most obvious benefits of not drinking is the calories as well. Especially in this cut right now, I'm on quite strict calories. So my training day calories are around 2,200 calories, and my rest day calories are around 1,700. So when you think that a beer is around, like a pint of lager is around 150 to 200 calories, it's a massive quota of that total amount of calories that I'd be using on alcohol. And alcohol is literally just empty calories. It has no nutritional value, so it's just a waste of calories. And where my goal right now is centered around self-improvement, the shoot, my businesses, etc., it is really important to, make sure I'm fully fueled for this time, and make sure I've got as much time back as possible to put into these. And yeah, just touching on the time point again, the fact that I've literally gained about 6 days a month not hungover. So if you extrapolate that over, the whole year, I've gained probably almost over 60 days of not being hungover. Now, what that will do between potentially achieving my goals and definitely achieving my goals is night and day. I've got some pretty big goals I want to achieve, not just with my physique, my business, but everywhere else. So being able to get that time back to put into this, into my pursuits, is absolutely golden. So yeah, that's how I feel after 60 days. Let's see how I feel after 100. But that's it from me. I'll catch you in the next one.